such a cool intro. You can't help but dance. Hey, everyone. Good. What is this? Evening? Yes.
It's evening, yeah.
You swear to God I could tell at this point. Like my days and nights are just
They're
one.
blurred.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
Good evening. Oh yeah. We're not professional yet. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Bad Moms. You guys, okay, I have to say it because if I don't say it, I'm going to pass out. I got a little bit of facial paralysis, not because I got Botox. I don't do that. But because I got, Bell's palsy. And what? Oh, 4. Yeah. It's my Bell's palsy. What? And I didn't even get vaccinated. So, like, joke's on me. Whatever. All right. So, like, I just had to say it so I could get it out of the way. And then I'm going to be on camera for, like, the next couple months. What am I going to do? Like, not go on camera? Hello? No.
Right.
Through thick and thin. So, yeah. Whoa, me. I got Bell's palsy. Oh, well. I'll get over it. It's all good. Now that you all know, the homies. Today I have Daniel Mercuri. All right. Daniel Mercuri, the author. He wears a few hats. Father, obviously businessman, and constitutionalist. He didn't title that himself, he said, but he is.
Thank you.
Yeah. Patriot. I mean, well, now I could say it. What's the word?
Gubernatorial.
No. No, like campaign, politician. Jeez, not yet, but you are. Look, even though people don't like that word,
Right.
it's still involved in politics. You're a politician if you're involved in politics. It doesn't mean you have to be a grimy politician, but that's what the title is. And so...
Yeah, I mean, I operate now, because inadvertently I became a constitutionalist, not because I wanted to. It was just something when I was campaigning, I just wanted to understand why everything was falling on deaf ears. And the more I started researching, being a believer, so that your audience knows too, I'm a very staunch believer in Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. I know that offends a lot of people, but that's also my slogan
That's
too.
hilarious, though.
It was during the recall, it was starve the government, feed the people. And as I continued to go around and learn and try to figure out what was going on, going to board meetings and board of supervisor meetings, city council meetings, I started realizing, we need to speak more of the truth, because I started learning about what was happening behind the scenes. And that led me to really kind of researching, why is everything falling on deaf ears? Why are these people getting away with their egregious acts against the people they swore to protect? And I started realizing this is really tying into the Bible and biblical prophecy. And the more I started researching and digging, the more I understood how to function within the political spectrum as I started campaigning. But I realized, with every loss, I actually gained more understanding because of the losses, and how it was stonewalled and blocked, and how there's such deviancy behind the scenes that unfortunately, everybody doesn't see. And so in that process, I realized I can't just take this knowledge and do nothing with it. I really felt called to put it into a book, but I wasn't sure how to do this. So I was going around the state trying to just put on symposiums and PowerPoint presentations. And finally, my wife said, well, why don't you just put it in a book? And I said, you know what? That's a great idea. Because a lot of times,
right?
Yeah, I was coming home and I said, so many people are offended by what I'm saying. And she was like, well, why don't you make that your new slogan, right? So now my slogan is, I'm here to offend you. Not because I want to insult you, and not because I want to, make you angry. It's because I just want to tell you the truth. But that truth
That's
of
what
conviction.
Jesus did. He came to offend. He didn't come to make friends.
No. So the truth offends.
Yeah.
So here I stand. And I wrote this in a book, and I've been, people have been buying the book, but I've also been giving free copies out. It's not about the money. I really don't care about the money. If people can't afford it, I get it, especially in California. We live in one of the most expensive states, or if not the most expensive state.
But can they afford to not get it? That's the real question.
No, I actually don't think so. I think we're at a stage where you really need this information. I get that we don't have time to spend, like I did, 5 years to get to where I'm at now. So I really felt like maybe I can summarize this in an easy to understand way that will help people solidify their understanding of the corruption, what they can potentially do to fight against it, and how they can continue to watch and observe and see, like a watchman on the wall, as it speaks about in the Bible, that we need to be aware of what's going on so we can continue to wake everybody up, because a lot of what's happening, I firmly believe, does tie into biblical prophecy, which is why I focus predominantly on the four horsemen of the apocalypse written in Revelation. Of course, the whole book is filled with so much more, but these are the things that I think will help people sort of get to where you need to be right now so that you can engage into this fight, right? It's
Right.
time to choose your side. There's no, like Christ says, right? You can either hot or cold, but you're not going to ride the line. You're going to be forced to pick. So get with
Fence sitters get shot from both sides.
it. Exactly. Right?
And yeah, God doesn't like lukewarm.
No, and that's one of the things that I think we see a lot about in our state. Not a lot of people are quite sure, where they stand. Maybe because they're afraid that they're going to lose a friendship, or maybe their business might get tainted because now they're speaking out. They don't. What are the two things that people don't want to talk about the most? Religion and politics.
But that's because they got told not to do it.
Right.
They filtered it through all the media and got it to like schools, even in classrooms. I remember hearing it in school.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, like, you don't want to talk about politics and religion at the dinner table.
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly what got us into this bleep in the first place.
No, that's in fact,
Live editing.
a lot of people say, Jesus wasn't political, but that's not true. He was. He was extremely political.
Yes, I agree.
He went against the Pharisees. He went against their traditions. He was angry with them because of the fact that they were following tradition and traditional law, which was not God's law. And this angered him. This is the whole reason why, he's flipping over the tables. And, this is another reason why he was convicted. Again, it was one of those things where, you are going to be ostracized
They got him on
for
false charges.
False charges. There you go. Beautifully said. So that's what this really book is about. I really believe that people are going to, and a lot of people have called me and said that I didn't say this, they said it, that it's a page turner. It's not one of those things where I actually didn't think this was going to turn out to be roughly almost 300 pages.
Yeah.
But it does. A lot of people have said they got through it in 3 days or 5 days.
Well, they're being overzealous, all right? No, I'm kidding. They don't have a newborn, all right? No, but I started it before I gave birth, and as soon as I gave birth, I was like, well, that's it for my reading schedule for now, but I think I'm going to get back to it. Oh, here's the marker. I marked it. Never mind. Anyway, I was so excited that you wrote this because you're such a wealth of information, and I feel like talking about just summarizing it, what you wrote for everyone who's watching, so people take from it in little small chunks.
Right.
Just because we're not assuming they're dumb, but they have to be able to digest it.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, part of the book discusses, the changing of the language that we see right now. I break that down tremendously. One of the first things I said during the recall was, the corrupting government, changed the language to change perception so that they can pass egregious legislation, repugnant legislation, legally, lawfully, and what appears to be, fair-minded, but it's not. It's egregious. It's against the Constitution. It's against God's law. It's against everything that this nation stood for. But if they can change the language just enough to change your perception, then they can have a field day with the Constitution. So I break that down a lot so that people understand, well, how are they changing the language? Well, one of the ways right now is, they're going to come out with a bill right now. It's already on the table where people in the medical community can no longer refer to a woman as a pregnant woman. They now have to be referred to as a birthing person, right? Or a pregnant person.
The thin side of the wedge.
But that's the problem, though, right? That's ambiguous because when you read in the Declaration of Independence where it says we are of nature and of nature's God, right? Well, what is he referring to? The laws of nature. Well, a pregnant person or a birthing person is ambiguous at best. That means that inclines that anybody can get pregnant. Well, that's not true.
Bambi's dad instead of mom.
There you go. That's exactly what they want you to think, and they want to call it it's a barrier of cliche. Well, that's not true. But if they can do that, and they get you to believe that and buy into it, well, then the Constitution is obsolete.
Like, what kind of idiot believes that?
But that's just it. A lot of people who want to have, like God says, people want to hear what their itching ears are desiring. And he's telling you the truth. And if you don't want the truth, well then...
Why won't they want the truth?
Because it convicts people. Like, who wants to be convicted? Like,
I do.
when you put your hand in the cookie jar and you get caught, right? Or when you're a kid and you do it anyway, and then all of a sudden you get caught, you feel really bad, right? Well, that's good. You should feel bad because you did something wrong. But people want to live now in a lascivious lifestyle.
Too bad for them.
That's exactly. And then here's the problem, though. They want you to accept it too. They want you to accept their lie. And they're going to try to do that legislatively.
Right. Okay. So why I'm doing these gestures is because it's really that simple for us to ignore all of this nonsense. Ignore it. We have to ignore it, and we have to build upon what's better, because they'll eventually fizzle out.
Well, that's the other thing too. None of this is already not permitted. It's, again, I break this down also in the book as well. When you get to, further into the book, you'll understand a little bit more about the judicial system in a way that ties to the Bible. When you play around with the language, and in the book of Daniel that deals in prophecy, that Satan will think to change the times and the laws. Well, you got to focus on that word law. So how is he changing? How is Satan, how is Lucifer, through the sons of disobedience, changing the laws?
Through our compliancy.
That's exactly it. The Constitution talks about the consent of the governed. You are the governed. You're consenting to giving them their vested authorities so that they can do one job. There's only one job that your representatives have. That's it. All three branches only have one really important job, and that is, as it's written in the Declaration of Independence, to secure the rights of the people, period.
To represent you, pretty much.
That's it. There's no, they cannot go outside of these vested authorities.
Which they have.
Exactly. And if you don't know how, because you didn't understand the changing of the language, then they dupe you. And now you...
No, you dupe yourself.
That's actually true, because and the Bible also says too, God says that my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. Right? I talk about that, and I break that down as well in the book, where we discuss, I think it's in chapter 3, is it, or chapter 5, the plan. Chapter 4, chapter 5 is...
Tell us about the plan, Daniel.
So one of the things that a lot of people have misgivings is they think that what they see, all this gaslighting, because they're confused as to what is truth and what is lie, what is misinformation, what isn't. It's because they're not actually asking, to be filled with the Holy Spirit for discernment, right? To be able to see the lie from the truth, right? And how to separate the two, right? So the plan is these people that are corrupt in government, who serve, Lucifer and all the Luciferians, or the Freemasons and the Rosicrucians, all these, what we would call conspiracy, they're not conspiracies. These are real groups. These are real clandestines that are out there. But they have to tell you their plan. But in the book, I tell you that it doesn't really say how they have to describe, how they have to divulge their plan. But they do have to tell you the plan, because it's biblical. If God tells you the beginning to the end, right? Genesis to Revelation, he's telling you how it all started and how it's all going to end. There is no other religion that tells you that.
You know what's so funny? Only in the Bible, I feel like, would you see the antagonist played out in real life. Like, if we believe in Jesus, the antagonist, which is Satan, is being played out in real life through these people.
Yes.
And it's the only religion that I'm conscious of where that exists, where there's dualities on earth representing the actual, religion.
Our faith, yeah.
So that means, So that means then that God is 100% real, because the antagonists believe so too.
Yeah, and he wants you to believe he doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Right, that you don't need a God. This is why we have all these groups that are all about, Mother Earth and, believing in the universe and, all these things that just, they want you could be your own God. We can have a utopia here on earth. No, this is a temporary. You're not supposed to want to stay here. You're supposed to want to eventually be with Christ.
Yeah.
Right? But they don't want you to believe in God, because Satan doesn't want you to believe in God, because he hates God. And he hates those who believe in him. And this is why it's so easy now for me to see who's corrupt and who waters down and rides the line. And yet we keep voting for these people because we think, well, that's okay. They just made a mistake. I think we've okayed too many of these people who have made mistakes. Yes, should we forgive? You bet. But when you keep doing it and you keep engaging into these egregious behaviors, right, then you're part of the problem. And so these people have to tell you what they're going to do. And they tell you all the time. They tell you in commercials. They tell you in their ads. They tell you in their writings.
Full transparency.
They have to. But how they do it, right, is where you come in with discernment. Are you noticing what they're telling you? The Olympics, when you looked at the opening, that was full on. They told you their plan, and we don't have time to go through it, but they told you everything that they're going to do. But I bet you didn't see what exactly. We know who they offended. We know exactly who they offended, but they also revealed their plan. And how do you know that? Again, you have to watch. Who are they worshiping? What are they doing? What are they saying? And that's because it's written in the Bible in Amos 3:7 that if God reveals his plan to his servants, well, then if God follows that plan, well, so must Satan. People say, well, why does he have to? I write about that in the book, and I encourage people again to pick this up, buy it. If you can't afford it, DM me. I'll send you a free copy.
You know, I want to talk about a plan that was put into place that I think, got us all talking, again, maybe distracted. But when they had the Algerian fighter, okay, so this person was put there on purpose, all by design. If this person was genetically female or is genetically female, then she was used as well in this as a pawn in this scheme.
Yeah.
Because they want us now to obscure what our perception of what a woman looks like.
Correct.
They want that to be obscured so that when men are actually in the rings identifying as women, we can't question it, because what do you mean? Of course women have XY chromosomes, right. You bigot.
Right.
You fascist, you Nazi.
No, that's again, this is one of those lines of acceptance where they keep watering things down because they want you to be okay with, pedophilia. They want you to be okay with, removing the barriers that they're calling boundaries of sexuality or genderism, right? Gender is actually not that is a fairly recent concept. Went back maybe.
It's not. It's a Sumerian concept actually with the goddess Esther.
No, but I mean the term gender. Right, that term didn't come around until the 1900s, and
maybe they were calling it something different.
But they incorporated it more into our society now, because before, when we were giving birth, we were always basing on sex, right, male, female. But then gender was introduced, and of course that started to obscure things, right? Because we assume when we talk about gender, we're not talking about sex.
Did it obscure things, or did it bring things to the surface that were already obscured?
I think it brought
Sinful. Why don't we believe it?
Yeah, because we know the differences when what is delusional and what is not. When you and I refer in genderism, we're talking more about sex. We're talking about male, female with genitalia, which is referred to sex. Now they're changing that on the birth certificate to whatever the parent or whatever they think the child is, based off of an emotional whim.
Oh, so you mean to tell me they're imposing themselves upon that child? Oh, like how they don't want abortion to be ruled over by men in office, like that.
Yeah, and that's this is the interesting thing too, is that that's also, an abridgment to the right to life, right? Government doesn't have, and I speak about this in the book, the government doesn't have the right to control the behavior of the people. And so what that means is that under the laws of nature and of nature's God, government doesn't have the right to intervene in the laws of nature. Well, if man and woman, XXXY chromosomes, intermingle at the moment of conception, is the right to life. Life begins at the moment of conception. At that moment, government cannot come up with any laws to obscure that. It has to allow for nature to take its course. And when nature takes its course, right, well, that is a life in the womb, and therefore the life in the womb has rights.
So government is obscuring nature's plans.
Correct.
Okay. And so do they give a shit?
No. Because they want to demoralize. So how do they demoralize it? They change the language. So it's not a baby in the womb, it's a fetus.
So they do give a shit.
Only for what suits their needs.
People are going to be like, I thought you were a Christian. I thought you followed Jesus. Why are you cussing so much? Adds flavor to the sentence. They do care. They do care in their perspective. So that's why they got to change it. So that way the rules, because they still respect the rules and laws of nature. They still do.
Yeah, they have to an extent.
Yeah.
And the extent is they have to, because Lucifer has to follow the rules. It just doesn't say how he has to divulge the information. So if Lucifer has to, then so must his followers. And who are his followers? I write about that in the book as well. You'll get a breakdown of that. But this is why they need to obscure everything, because the more things can remain ambiguous, the more confusion can play out. And what's the old saying? Confusion is the devil's playground.
Yeah, father of lies.
And we then sit here. Everybody thinks, and that's the other thing too. Father of lies. Everybody thinks when you think of the devil, we think of Satan, we think of a horned, sparked individual, right, with horns and forks and red skin.
Yeah.
But it actually
Not
says,
after watching Devil's Advocate.
yeah, it actually says that he is the most. It calls him beautiful.
Yeah.
Right, Lucifer is extremely beautiful, of jaspers and stones, and he was the angel that the cherubim that covers God. Right, it also indicates that he was a choir leader. So there's, and I put this in the book too, and how that looks. But that's one of those things where he doesn't look like a pitchfork, evil fanged, forked tongue. No, he's actually quite beautiful, and the Bible calls him very beautiful. So what are we looking at here? But it also says he's the wisest of all the angels.
So he led us astray.
Exactly, and he did it purposely.
Yeah.
And I show you how that happened, when it happened, and how it plays out right now. And this is what we're enduring right now. It's very sad.
You show us in the book. You see.
I showed it. I break it down.
I was
for you
like,
in the
oh my
book.
God, I can't wait.
Yeah, I take you back. And unfortunately, I believe when we get into the four horsemen, they're probably the most difficult to understand.
Tell us about it.
But the four horsemen, in short, are harbingers. And the harbingers basically are like chess pieces. They get into positions.
Harbinger, which piece is that?
Well, that's what they're, a harbinger, right? They're bringing about, they're getting into position to bring about cataclysms.
Okay.
Right? That's a harbinger.
Okay.
So these are the four beginnings cataclysms that are going to come in sequential order, but they lead to each other. Each one leads that causes the next horse to ride. And
it's like a relay race.
Yeah, that's actually the best example. But they're in unison too. They operate once they're full in their gallop, then they ride simultaneously, because then there's no way out. Right? Everyone's going to be affected by each of these, and I believe each of these horses are also areas of industry, which I break down for you. But what they tell you is that I believe we're, for lack of a better phrase, on the precipice of, on the doorsteps of tribulation. And I think Trump has a little bit to do with that in some respect. One of the things that a lot of people don't know is that, and people don't talk about it, is, Trump bartered, I think it was 4 historical peace treaties in the Middle East, right? No other president did that. But in the book of Revelation and the book of Daniel, it talks about how the Antichrist comes and he confirms a covenant. But it doesn't say the Antichrist actually creates the covenant. It says that he confirms a covenant. That means somebody else comes in and actually barters the deal, is no longer present, and this then new leader comes in and comes on the world stage and then confirms this covenant. Well, then who created it? And that's the big question that I think a lot of biblical scholars and a lot of pastors are out there are kind of playing around with this idea. Could it be Trump? Because he's the only president that did, in one of his 4th treaties that didn't quite get solidified, was when he was dealing with the lands of areas that the Palestinians were claiming was theirs. The Israelis actually in the meeting saw what they wanted, and they said, okay, we're in agreement. But the Palestinians didn't like that because it seemed too easy. So Trump basically said, well, if this is, paraphrasing here, but his issue was, what's the problem then? If this is where you're fighting, they're willing to give it to you, then will that stop all the killing and all the fighting? They felt like they needed to walk away and needed to think about it. But that was at the end of his fourth year of president, right? So that never carried on. My thinking is that that's the 4th deal that never got solidified, and that's the one in the balance.
Interesting, then, that they would get rid of him so he wouldn't continue that deal and put it through fruition, I suppose.
Yeah, I mentioned a little bit about that in the book before it even happened, that I believe that Trump was going to be attempted to be assassinated. So I put that in the book too.
Yeah. Well, I'm starting to doubt that the Simpsons were predicting. I've always had this in my mind that it's a script for the people who are on the world stage.
They're telling you their plan.
Yeah, exactly. And so they're reenacting it, they're living it, and of course they're going to put it through animation. Ha 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 ha. Distract us, easily feed us the information they want. They can't just get up on there with their hoods and goats' heads and we like, oh, well, we're going to do this to you all.
No, and and it's unfortunate too because a lot of this is distraction. When we get so distracted with everything, we don't take the time to go back and say, wait, what's going on in our state? What's going on in my country? And what can I do to fight back? Right? That's one of the things I put in the book. There's a lot of things. I only list a few things because I get it. Not everybody has a zeal for,
The truth.
Standing up in front of our representatives. Nobody has, wants to go to court. Nobody wants to, take on the giant democratic machine. And that's one of the things I talk about. But, I'm going to be putting a video together a little bit about Prop 47 we were talking about, which is the initiative that was taken off of this November's ballot. Well, that's illegal, right?
Who took it off?
That was Gavin, the Superior Court, as well as our AG and the legislative body. So basically, they all sued the people over the I think it was the Taxpayer Protection Act and Government Accountability Act. They wanted that removed because basically the ballot said state representatives are no longer going to be able to raise taxes without the people's say so. Right. Well, that's kind of somewhat already in the California State Constitution. The problem is that they felt like, well, that was going to shift authority over more to the people, so the government couldn't really enact more taxes or be more nimble if they felt like there was an emergency and they needed more money. So what they did was they removed it off of the ballot. The problem is that I brought here in the California State Constitution, Article 2, Section 1, that says right up at the top, all political power is inherent in the people.
Yeah.
Well, what does that mean?
Yeah. It's ours.
It's ours. That means it doesn't matter what the judge said, and it doesn't matter what Gavin wants, and it doesn't matter if they wanted to sue. They literally sued this group, but that was suing the people. That's not fair. Tough. That's our call.
Like, bleep, you work for us.
That's exactly it. And they felt like, oh, well, there's a shared authority here between legislative body and the people. No, that's not. That's
no, sir.
No. And they cry democracy.
No taxation without representation.
Yes, we do not live in a democracy.
No.
Your audience and you and anybody else, if you keep saying democracy, stop. We do not live in a democracy. It is a constitutional republic. And a lot of people say, well, it's a representative democracy because Hamilton in 1777 was like, okay, now the Declaration of Independence happened. Are we to constitute a more of a representative democracy? That was their way in the Federalist Papers trying to figure out what this country was going to be like as they were, forming the Constitution, right? The Declaration of Independence is the foundation to the Articles of Confederation. 10 years later, in 1787, at the first meeting of the Continental Congress, he then and everybody else said, we have now engaged upon to form a republic form of government.
Yeah.
Right? So that's written in the Constitution that all states shall provide a republic form of government. So they finally figured it out. This is not a representative democracy. It is a constitutional republic. What's the difference? In a republic, God-given authority comes first. The individual is above government. In a democracy, the individual is last, where the government takes from the people whenever they deem necessary.
And God's not even in that equation.
No, God is under that, right, and removed completely.
Yeah.
So this is what they did with Prop 47, which was they removed that initiative because it would put the power again back into the people's hand, and they refused to have that. So again, I break a lot of laws down into this book that apply for what's happening right now. And towards the end, I write about when all else fails. It talks about I let you know about what is. In the Declaration of Independence, it says that we have the right to abolishment. But what does abolishment look like? And nobody wants to break that down. So as an individual who's still campaigning for the 2026 gubernatorial election, I break it down for you. Because if I don't win, I'm going to tell you right now, here's the thing. If you don't want somebody like me, don't ever come back and say, gosh, if we just had somebody who would pass the Rubicon and really put these people and hold them accountable, and accountability means prison. There's no getting around that. If you have a better idea by negotiating with the swine in office that have put us here now and on this pathway to what we're losing, then you're the reason why we're here. But don't ever say that somebody didn't try, right? And really, this is where we're at. And here it is.
I mean, look, it's not even about trying anymore. It's do or do not.
Do or do not. I love that.
Yeah, it's Yoda.
Right? Yeah,
Yoda
do not
wisdom.
try. I can't do the voice. I would try, but
I don't even know what it sounds like. All I know is that I have a poster of that in my house.
Right. I love that.
But we've come to the point. It's about that time, all of y'all. I don't know, camera 3. It's about that time. All right. We've come to the point where we have to stand up and take real action, you guys. I know we did the whole school board thing. It was fun. We met each other. I know you guys want to go out and fight, but you're exerting your energy for no reason. All right. All the information we have is in this book that can get us started, Lucifer Zenith. It's about time we start helping each other, Daniel. We don't have what the left has, and that's resources, to be honest with you. We are the resource.
We are the resources. Absolutely.
So if I can't get your information, you've already done like the whole legwork for everybody.
Yeah.
It's so irresponsible to not pick up this book. How can they get it, by the way?
So they can just go on to Amazon, which is where it's available, and just type in Lucifer Zenith. The full title is Lucifer Zenith, Corrupting Nature's God Through Government Deception. Or you can go onto my website at danielforcalgovernor.com and just go onto the merchandise page, and it's right up at the top. And you just click that link, it'll take you to it. It's $21. And if it's too expensive for you and you really want to get this book, DM me. You can message me on Facebook, Instagram. You can go on my website and you can click on any of my social medias and send me a direct message. Give me your address and I'll send you a copy. And so, this will help you get into a position of understanding. And I agree with you, not to negate activism, because activism is truly important because it lets the people in the community know what's going on, because not everybody is involved. They're inundated with work, trying to put food on the table, pay the bills. We get it. I get it. Not everybody can do what I'm doing or what you're doing. But once you learn that, activism can only go so far. If you think that your sign is going to change their motivation, it won't. If you think that your crowds of people marching on to the Capitol, that's been done thousands of times and it has done absolutely nothing. There are different methods to force their hands to either step down, have to pay out and go broke, or see the inside of a prison wall that the people can do. It's not going to be easy. There is no easy solution. I have numerous battles going up and down the state of California trying to help people. Some have succeeded. Others have completely quit along the way, got unmotivated because it's exhausting. But if you think you're going to try to appeal to a better side, I got news for you. It doesn't exist.
Nope.
It will
No,
never
sorry,
exist.
Bob.
If that was the case, we would not be here in the first place. So my personal opinion is stop with the signs and start doing something that's actionable that forces their hands. But be ready, because when you go down that path, you're going to get threats. You're going to have people pounding on your door. It's happened to me quite a few times. I've gotten the phone calls. I've had the goon squads pound on my car with their nightsticks. I've had actual government vehicles pull up to me and tell me to stop running. This happens when you rattle the right or wrong cages. But be ready for that, because either you're going to go quietly into the night, right? Or you're going to fight back. You have to pick a side. But your signs aren't motivating anybody. And it's not to say you shouldn't do that to wake up your neighbors, but it's to say that's not enough.
Your neighbor's not going there.
No. And here's the other thing, too. You don't have enough knowledge. If you don't read your California State Constitution, you're at a loss. If you don't know your Constitution, you're at a disadvantage. Because if you don't know the law, there is no law. And if you don't know your rights, you have no rights. And they know this.
Well, no, just because you don't hear the tree falling in the forest doesn't mean it didn't make noise.
I completely agree.
If you don't know the law, you can learn the law.
Yes, I literally summarize all three branches in a way that will help you understand why all the egregious behavior, how they're getting away with it, how they speak treason, because they're duplicitous. They say yes and no all at the same time. Well, that prevents them from being held accountable, and what accountability means and what the people can potentially do. But this isn't the only solution. It's just to get you started. This book will help you, point you in the best direction and fighting the fight that you're fighting, because people up north are fighting fires and losing their homes and property. Down south, they're just open borders, and people are coming in, and these squatters are taking homes from landowners and property owners and house owners. And then you got people that are dealing with the schools and the indoctrination of over-sexualizing our children.
Fire.
It is. We've got
the land
homeless.
of Lot, right?
That's
what
exactly
you wrote
it.
in
This
here?
is we are entering. If I totally believe we are in the time of Lot, time of Noah.
Yeah, land of Noah. Sure, whatever. I'm new to this.
No, I'm glad you're doing this though, but
Bible thing.
you're already way ahead. You even took the time to go down to the Los Angeles County district, you went down to the offices, you went down to the county clerk, and you pulled files. Like, that's actionable. Good, great. Now you wanted to put something on the local ballot. Awesome. Now you have to write it up. You got to get your signatures. It's no different than somebody.
I need 5 signatures to start this, y'all. Can you volunteer? Who's watching? All 5 of y'all.
There you go.
Ooh, look, 5 people are on. Ball in. No, someone told me I have a very shitty podcast, so I'm like trying to.
Oh yeah, and I commented on it. I was like, well, if how would he know that if he wasn't watching? So clearly he's watching.
Yeah, he confirmed that I have a shitty podcast because he's watching.
So
whatever, it's shitty today. It's not gonna be shitty all the time.
No, you know what?
No, it's not today. Today's great, actually.
More voices, and the more we can wake up people, and the more you can educate, and the more honest you are with everybody too. Listen, I don't have the answers to everything. You don't have the answers, but what does God say?
Collectively, we have
Collectively,
the
we
answers.
do, right?
Yeah.
Because the Bible says iron sharpens iron, right?
Yeah.
The body of Christ doesn't know when prophecy starts to happen. Some of us see some of it, and other people see another aspect to it. When you come together and you fellowship, you paint another picture, and you see the whole picture now.
God, I love fellowship at church. After the sermon, we go have coffee and like pastry and talk and see each other's kids, and you know, we feel God's presence.
Wherever 2 or 3 meet, there I will be. Right? And this is what we need to do, and the church really needs to come together in standing up. Here's the thing: as much as we have prayer warriors too, I love all you prayer warriors out there because prayer actually works. But here's the other thing too: David still had to pick up a rock.
Yeah.
Right? He didn't just pray to God. He, the armor didn't fit him. He couldn't swing the sword. So he took it all off. And then, he still had to stand in front of Goliath, and he had to find what he needed, what he thought he could use the best. And he took the best weapon that he knew he was good at, and he swung it at Goliath. But he still had to do something actionable. He didn't just pray.
Yeah.
Right? Prayer is one step. That's the first biggest step, and it has power. It has great power.
Gives you guidance and direction.
Yes,
actually.
that's where you feel the Holy Spirit in you, and gives you proper discernment in the direction you need to go. And then you have to act. And there's only so many. We're running out of time, and there's only so much that we can do.
Like, how much time do we have left? To be honest.
Honestly, I mean, if they're telling you that there is a 2030 agenda, and we're coming up to this
because they're telling us the plan.
They're telling you their plan. They're telling you, and we are now knowing how close we are on the precipice of tribulation. It's coming.
The plan. All right, you can't see; it's too far away.
Yeah, chapter 4, page 31. The plan. I break that down to you in a number of sections.
Daniel, I think it's very important for people to understand biblically how everything that is playing out today is correlating with the stories of yesterday.
Yes.
Because it's not stories of yesterday, it's actually stories of tomorrow.
Yes. Ecclesiastes, what is, what was, will be again. There's nothing new under the sun.
I love this so much. Everything I'm saying, he's like biblically referencing it. It's like, we're good. You should come on the show more often. We should talk
thank you.
More often.
And thank you to your audience, too, for listening to me, too. I appreciate you inviting me on.
Yeah, no, this is going to get, distributed further. Unless they don't want us talking about God.
It will
they
get
said
to
we
that
could
point.
talk about anything except for Jesus.
Yes, it's going to come to that, and I will never stop talking about Jesus.
No. Oh, sorry, I got to put my leg up. No, we can't stop talking about it, especially after, like, I feel so compelled to constantly talk about Jesus now. And, like, I feel like how maybe when I was an atheist, like, I didn't want to hear it because it was so true.
Mm-hmm.
And now when I know the truth, I can't help but speak it all the time. Because when I was an atheist, I wasn't telling the truth.
No, it's one of those things where once you've been exposed to truth and you understand how it makes you feel more free. You have greater understanding, and you feel a part of free. A part of God's plan, right? Because again, this is an old saying, freedom is God's plan and slavery is Satan's plan.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Truth sets you free. And Jesus is the truth, the way, and the life. That's plain and simple. And to know God is to know peace. Know God, there is no peace.
I literally felt the peace immediately after reading chapter 2 of Get Rich or Die Trying. No, it's not that. It's Think Big. What the heck is it? Grow Rich.
Think Big and Grow Rich.
Think Big and Grow. No, what it?
Yeah, I know what book you're talking about.
Why did because I was trying to make fun. My husband says that the Get Rich or Die Trying.
Yeah.
He calls it that. So now,
was that 50 Cent or something?
yeah, see, the language like flipped, and now I can't remember the actual one.
Yeah, see that's designed for that, right? They obscure everything, they twist everything.
Look, we could do it to ourselves. That's literally what
we allow for it too, because
Yeah.
we expose ourselves. We have to, sadly, we live in this world. We have to live in this world, but we have to be good discerners of the truth. And
So how come we're not all Amish? Why do we like the devil's world
right?
so much?
The Amish got it right.
Yeah.
None of them got sick. I wonder how that happened, right?
No, they're living everything according to what God wants.
Yeah.
You never hear about like weird stories. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
The only thing that people are weirded out by is that they don't indulge in electronics. They stick
They're
to the ground.
so freaking strong-willed.
Exactly. It's why if it's not broke, don't fix it, right?
Yeah.
If that's how their community works, and it's here, they still are. We can learn something from that.
Lately, I've been watching that was wrong. I saw a clip of like these Amish girls going into the city, and they were like so perplexed by it. Like, what the heck is going on with these grocery prices?
Yeah.
Like eggs for $12. Like, are these people on something?
Yeah, because they pretty much grow all their food.
Yeah.
And we don't. We sit there and we keep paying. Really,
they don't let us though. Like, they want to make it so difficult for us.
Well, they want you to be dependent on government. Right? They take our water, they dump 20 metric tons a day into the ocean, and then they charge you a fee thereof. Well, that's called extortion. You don't get to do that, and you're the cause of the problem because you want to adhere to the backlogs, and then you want to raise the price. But the government can't create what it didn't actually make, right? The government can't create water. It can cultivate it, right? It can, it can regulate it. It can, it can guide it, but it can't make it because it was already innate. It's part of the laws of nature and of nature's God, right? Of an equal and separate station. Again, Declaration of Independence. Our forefathers were genius, and we go, no, they were, they just wrote it for their time.
How do they know?
No, our forefathers did not write the Constitution or the Declaration of Independence for their time. They wrote it to stand the test of time. And that's why they said, this is a free nation, and it was meant to be a tax-free nation. Mm-hmm. So if you read the Constitution, you understand the Bill of Rights. After the Bill of Rights, a lot of them start getting wonky because it's not an alignment. It's not an agreement. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of times they basically said, this is a free nation, but if you can keep it.
So I'm thinking the reason why it wasn't upheld like the forefathers intended it. I mean, it was like, the Constitution is upheld, but it's also being constantly challenged. And that's because we don't have any more forefathers. See, like I would consider you now a forefather to what we would be building from here on out because of the new knowledge that we all have. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so, like, there's not a lot of protectors of...
Yes. That's what we call constitutionalists. Constitutionalists adhere to the original writings of what our forefathers laid out, right? Same with, so a lot of people don't know. We focus on the seven key primary forefathers, Washington, Hamilton, but we don't focus on the fact that there were 55 of them.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, 55 of them, right? So we don't look at some of their writings either. And why not?
Yeah, why not?
Right? Why don't we study this? Because, again, those who want to install communism, which is what we're enduring right now, and I talk about this in the book about the 1950 Red Scare. Well, they were smart back then, which is why our oath of office in the California State Constitution deals with communism. But that second paragraph has been revoked illegally. Right? Mm-hmm. And well, what are we doing about it? I talk about that in here too. But again, people aren't focused on, you have to understand the past in order for you to understand where you're going to go in the future. And if you don't do that, then our forefathers are forgotten. They're demonized. And, again, it's one of those things where, it was just of their time. Not realizing that was completely inaccurate. And so nobody understands the writings of it because they don't want to take the time to do it. Well, then you are your own reasoning why there's such egregious behaviors, because you don't actually know how to hold our representatives accountable. And when you do, they do threaten you, and people get scared.
I mean, like, okay, so they threaten, all right? They've gotten so good at threatening people and then they have the media, so they distribute the threat.
Yeah, and they gaslight
They just need to threaten one guy.
Yeah, and then everybody follows suit like sheep.
Yeah.
So they don't like people like myself and a lot of other people that are operating behind the scenes fighting the good fight. We as believers have a responsibility in fighting the good fight.
Why don't we just let it die? Like their system.
Well, because
all we got to do is pull out from it.
Well, if you look at the Bible, God says that once you understand the Bible, you're now inadvertently a watcher on the wall. That means the blood is on your hands if you don't sound the alarm. And God actually says that it's your fault, and then that same sword that comes against those that you didn't warn is going to come against you. Blood's on your hands. But if you do sound the alarm and you do speak up and you do fight back, and the people are still kind of slain, the blood is not in your hands. You are free from that. You've done everything you could.
What's the prerequisite? How many times do we got to try before we?
You keep doing it until Jesus comes. There's nothing in the Bible that says that you get to retire. It says until Jesus comes. You heard that,
everybody? No retirement in this game.
There is no retirement. It really isn't, right? It says in the
Get
Bible
rich or die trying.
You will work all the days of your life, or get rich or die trying, right? But then where's your loyalty? Money?
No, rich doesn't need to be money.
No, I know, I get it. But
that's what I was trying to say. Grow rich and think. Dang it, somebody wrote it. Think and Grow Rich.
That's it. Oh, that's
Napoleon.
Rich Dad. Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah, no, it's Napoleon Hill.
Oh,
Napoleon Hill. So I was trying to tie it back to my atheism being revoked. Yes. Of course, a lot of things led to my final belief in God, but the one thing that it was chapter 2, I think, about faith and Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah.
And it just tied everything together.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting on my patio and like, oh my God, this is what it all meant. I missed the whole point.
Yeah.
Until I got it. And then it's like, how could you deny it after that?
Well, and it's one of those spiritual things too, that anybody who I knew that was once a non-believer suddenly became a believer. And when they became a believer, anything that they dismissed when they were hearing about Bible verses and, people spouting out, words of Jesus Christ, they suddenly remember all of that information comes flooding back into their head. And they remember that old friend back in high school that they thought was just some Christian zealot. Now they realize and remember the words that they were spoken to back then.
Yeah.
How does that has happened to almost every non-believer who becomes a believer. Now all of a sudden they remember everything that was ever told to them. So it's really not for nothing. It's just once you open your heart up to Jesus, now you're free. But now you have a responsibility, too, to help wake up all those also who are still asleep and warn and sound the alarm. Wake them up. They're sleeping. You're sounding the alarm. Yeah. You have to help them get educated. You have to help them stand up and fight back. That's exactly it. The redcoats are coming.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And this is where we're at right now. There's not much time, but your signs and you're standing on the bridges and call your representative. Your representative doesn't care. No, it's we're going to remove this representative. We're going to force their removal, and we're going to do it legally, lawfully, constitutionally, but you can't do that unless you know it.
Did you hear that? There's ways to do this, everybody. There's ways to do this, 3 or 4. 3. There's ways to go about this, and the first thing you do is educate yourself, like Daniel said and like God said. Educate yourself so you don't get lost in the information battles. Another thing, have conviction.
Yeah.
Either you're about it or you're not. You can't be like, oh, we'll see what happens. No, what do you mean we'll see what happens? You're going to be swept under.
Yeah. I
know I'm not going to get swept under, but if I do get swept under, it's because of the tidal wave of people getting swept under at the same time, and then we fall. We fall at the same time. But I know for a fact that I'm ready to learn and look at the truth for what it is, and I'm willing to be wrong 100%. I mean, if you're unwilling to be wrong about things that you understand, then you're never growing.
Yeah, I tell people, don't call me and tell me when you see my policies on my website or you read my book and you say, oh, that sucks. Don't tell me that they suck. Tell me how I can improve upon them.
Yeah.
Help me out, right? Join the fight.
Yeah.
Right? It's easy to be, noise from the peanut gallery, but it's not easy to put your money where your mouth is.
You're not a 360 view ball,
No. I'm happy to be wrong. I'm okay. I'm the first one to admit, I made a mistake. Let me correct myself. I've actually done that a handful of times where I realized, that was inaccurate. I need to fix that. I didn't do my research thorough enough. I'm going to go back and I'm going to correct that. Thank you for helping me out. But it's easy to, shotgun somebody and nitpick at them. And it's easy to make that noise from the peanut gallery, but it's not easy to stand up front and voice that loudly and try to do it in an educational way to make everybody or help everybody understand. So easy to break something down than it is to build something up.
Yeah, for sure. And, it's easy to break something down, but sometimes it's not as easy to break down complex thoughts, which is why people have a hard time perceiving them.
Oh, absolutely. And that's exactly what this book is about. I really try to break it down for everybody in a simplistic manner, in putting myself in your shoes so you understand where I come from and where I think we're going, and what we can potentially do when that unfortunate time may come that we're out of options.
Well, is it coming or is it not coming?
It's coming.
It's coming. So it's not may come anymore.
I always believe that no matter what, God's timing is not ours, which is why we prophesy in part, we know in part, but we don't have the full picture. And so we're always ironing, sharpening iron. We're always learning from
But we
each
do
other.
have the full picture.
We do, but in some instances, though, we don't understand the mind of God, because he says, a day to, is 1,000 years, to us is but a day to God. So that kind of paints you a different understanding of what we're looking at and the time frames, right? We don't actually know the exact time frames. We can do our best. And I believe when God says that if my people, get on their knees and pray and ask for forgiveness, I'll heal their land.
So the reason why there's no time frame is because it can happen in 1 second. It can happen.
The Bible
never
talks
happen.
about how a whole nation will be wiped out in an hour.
Yeah.
Right? Well, half the earth is going to be wiped out in 1 hour. That paints a mighty picture to you of like how devastating that is.
Dang.
But when he says, if you ask for forgiveness and you are on your knees and you pray and you ask me to heal your land, I will do it. But we're not doing that.
So, okay, then why? That's what I'm saying. We do have the instruction manual.
Yeah.
We know what the picture looks like. We know what's going to happen. We don't need to know when it's going to happen because it doesn't matter. It's on us when it's going to happen.
Yep.
The sooner we get our shit together, the less chance of it happening, or the further we push it out from happening. Because if it's going to happen, because it is,
Yeah.
because that's God's plan. So,
and as we continue to fight, God, if at the end of the day he comes and his wrath comes, he removes his church. The church is not going to endure his wrath.
yeah.
So it's you keep sounding that alarm. You keep fighting the good fight because he tells us to. You need to finish the race, and until he comes.
The marathon.
Yeah.
Not disclosed distance. I think we're good, huh? I think we're good. I could talk to Daniel all day. He's a wealth of information. I enjoy learning from him. I enjoy that he knows the Bible verses, and every time I say something, he's like, "Oh yeah, this," and that just gives me confirmation that I'm on the right track.
Yes, definitely. You are, for sure. And I know we just need to stay together like this as a community. So
we need to grow, not stay like this.
Well, stay together in believing.
Yeah.
Right? Stay together as faith believers. That's how we stay together. But we need to continue to grow and wake up those who are in need of us. And of course, we need to be educated as to the corruption that's going on in our government. And I pray every day that God will bestow upon me the right to wear the servantry to serve the people as governor. But if not, and that's not his will, may there be somebody. Jesus, of course, come save us all. But if it's meant to fall, it's meant to fall. I hope and pray that it's not. I'm begging and praying to Jesus that he heals our land and that he comes and he saves the people. And but at the end of the day, his will be done, not ours.
I agree. Yes. I mean, who am I to agree? It is going to be that way. So yeah, everyone, pick up your bed and walk. Sleepy time is over. Oh, by the way, real quick, no sign of Biden anywhere. Did you see how they just swept up the news like? Phew.
Yep.
Biden doesn't exist. He never exists.
That's part 2 for another.
Whatever. It's all a psyop. All right. Thank you so much, Daniel. Everyone, please get the book, Lucifer Zenith. All right. I don't know the whole long
Corrupting
title.
Nature's God Through Government Deception.
Corrupting Nature's God Through Government Deception. You rock. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Please come back again.
I will, for sure. Thank you.
Thank you for watching, everyone. And please subscribe to Red Angeles on YouTube. We're trying to help all of our platforms grow. It's wonderful that the 6 of you are watching. That's amazing. But please subscribe to YouTube, to Twitter or X, all of the platforms. All right. Thank you. Ciao.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye, Bell's palsy. Can't believe this. All right, well.
How do you feel? Are you feeling okay?
Yeah.
Does it make you feel?
It's like dragging my stupid lip. If it wasn't pulling, it wouldn't be as bad. It's like,
let it drop.
How do you feel?